It's Monday, and what we do on every Monday is we go to NFL.com, we look at the next-gen stats charts to look at the trends, see who's on the up, see who's on the down, talk some ball, see who's on waivers, see who's not, who we want to fill our cup of confirmation bias with. Mostly, we're talking about these running backs, but what you need to do right now, click that subscribe button, because I'm going to help you get through the playoffs. I'm going to help you win the waiver wire this week. I'm also going to help you set your lineups. On top of that, I'm going to be a key resource when it comes to getting your information for your drafts next year, getting those advanced metrics, getting the values, and everything else. Click that button. Stop missing out. But let's dig in. Let's look at these 10 running backs for this week as we roll into week 15 here. First off, Ezekiel Elliott, and this is no surprise. He got a ton of touches, he got a ton of work, and this is why we declared him a top-tier handcuff, because we knew if something happened to Ramondre Stevenson, he was going to get a ton of work. He was going to get his work plus Ramondre's, and he's going to be using the passing game. We saw all that. He got 8 targets, 22 carries, just a boatload of touches in this matchup. He should be heavily worked for the rest of the season. They have no reason to hold back with him. He's an older running back, short contract. They can really just roll him out there until the wheels fall off, and they're good to go. Back to our favorite running back here, Keaton Mitchell. It's 9 carries, 54 yards. Not the greatest production for fantasy, as he just scored 7 fantasy points, but he did lead all running backs on the Ravens in carries. He got a little bit of usage in the passing game, if you want to call it that, with 2 targets. But again, he is what he is, and he is what we say he is. He's a home run hitter, and you see that here with the graphic here. You see that long run, and he has the possibility to pop one long on any given play. And you know what? The carries aren't there right now, but the game scripts these last 2 games haven't been there either. They've been some crazy game scripts here with the Ravens. That is part of being on the Ravens. You get in some weird game scripts because the team's kind of functionally built different compared to a lot of teams. Prior to Mark Andrews' injury, you get a lot of targets going to the tight end. You got Lamar Jackson doing Lamar Jackson things, running it a lot. He led the team in rushing attempts. Lamar Jackson did. So that's just an enigma you just got to add in to the factor when you're looking at these running backs. Plus, they're filtering these running backs. They're sharing the workload. Gus Edwards got some work here as well. Again, Keaton Mitchell, the one thing you're seeing out of him, he's a home run threat. He's a gamble any given Sunday. But the thing is, he's not really taking off. But the thing about that is you never know. However, you're just going to have to play the matchups there. And I would only start him if my back was against the wall and I wanted to go YOLO and swing. And if I swing and I hit, cool. If I swing and I miss, I already know that going in. That being said, Deontay Foreman's back. Saw 11 carries, 50 yards. They're sharing the workload in his backfield. The Bears won, too. The Bears are sneaky right now because they're starting to be on the come-up. They're 5-8 right now. Deontay Foreman is probably going to start getting his carries back, starting to get his workload, starting to be a fantasy-relevant running back. I could see that here on the back 9. That could be happening because the Bears are trying to do some stuff right now. If not, they wouldn't have put together what they did yesterday. And Deontay Foreman was happening a few weeks ago prior to the injury. So he's a running back you need to pay attention to. If he's down waivers and you're hurting at running back, maybe. Really depends on what's available there on waivers and where you're at on your team. Jamir Gibbs is nasty. That's all I really got to say about that. Got that touchdown, splitting down the middle pretty much with David Montgomery, and that's understandable, and that's really how things probably should be. They should be meat shielding each other, but Jamir Gibbs has got that pop in his step. He's going to be good for quite a long time, and if you got him in Dynasty, you're good to go for a long time as well. Joe Mixon here. But what about Chase Brown? They did not make a chart for Chase Brown, but I wanted to talk about Chase Brown. I did that video a few days ago, and I said pick him up, but I was very, 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 very cautious because he was kind of a luxury at that moment because you had so many other handcuffs. He's a must-get right now. He's a must-get. Chase Brown, because he's got that speed. He's getting used more in the offense. He's getting used intermittently with Mixon. He's getting used early in the game. We're seeing enough here. We have a 2-game sample. It's time to strike. He's got that Keaton Mitchell effect to him where he can really score on any touch because he has 90th percentile size-adjusted speed score. He's got a lot of pop in his step. Very productive at Illinois. He was one of the most productive running backs in college football last year. you can't really ignore him. He's a guy that you want on your team. The window's shut. You can't really trade for him in Dynasty right now unless you want to overpay. You're going to have to overpay for him in Dynasty. He's not liquidable, especially after that first performance against the Jaguars. The ability to trade for him kind of cut down then because I'm not giving him away then. It's going to be harder to trade. The ability to trade for him was when he was free. Now the price has went up immensely. No one's going to deal him away unless you're offering something good. Third round pick or more. He is going to be a hot commodity this offseason when people are going to be looking back at running back depth charts. They're going to be looking at Chase Brown, especially if he keeps running hot. Chuba Hubbard's getting touches. 23 carries in this matchup, 87 yards, 28-6 game here. The Carolina Panthers are going to continue to be in rough matchups, but Chuba Hubbard continues to get you by. He's a little bit up and down. You can kind of see that here in the scoring from week to week. But still, he's getting workload. He's getting opportunities. And you know what? Some people just need that. If he's on your roster, you're just playing the matchups with him. And if you're hurting at that week with a bye week, injuries, whatever's going on, and you're just praying to the gods that one of those touches does something for you. But 87 yards in a matchup like this, even though it was 3.78 yards per carry, it's good enough to get you by to the next week. You're not loving it, though. Rashad White might be a league winner this year. He might be that guy down the stretch that goes nuclear. 102 yards. Also used in the passing game. Used a little bit lighter in the passing game in this matchup. However, the game script was kind of floppy here. But he is that dude. He's used well between the tackles. He's also used a lot more in the passing game in other matchups here. Very dependable running back. And kind of quiet on the market, too. Not many people talk him up. But I look at Rashad White, just increasing in value in fantasy as we go into 2024. If you got him on your team, you're doing good when you're going into the playoffs. Austin Ekeler, we got a lot to talk about him because he's been down recently, but now we got a little bit of production. We got 21 fantasy points. 10 carries, 51 yards, and a touchdown. We also saw 7 targets, 5 catches, and 49 yards. That work in the passing game matters. It elevates his floor. Getting touchdowns help. This was a matchup where he needed to score fantasy points. This is a matchup where it trended to where he should be scoring fantasy points. He needed to do something this week. If he didn't do anything this week, it would have been all bad. It would have been really bad. That's when the floodgates would have opened with the media talks of him sharing the backfield with Joshua Kelly. We're going to stifle that a little bit. Even though it wasn't grandiose, it was still good. It wasn't lights out, but we were still productive. We did enough to get the job done. We're going to move into the next week, probably throughout the rest of the season. Austin Ekeler is going to be used in fantasy. He's got another matchup against the Broncos. He's got some more favorable matchups to look at here. He's got a good schedule down the stretch. Javonte Williams getting touches here, getting work, being productive, 18 fantasy points. This is something he should have done against the Chargers because the Chargers give up fantasy points to running backs. And then once we saw this game script, we knew it was lights out for him to be productive in fantasy. And it's good when your running back does what he needs to do in these game scripts because it makes your life more favorable in fantasy. And plus, you got that running back that holds it down when he needs to, and that's Javonte Williams. Clyde EdwardsAir. A lot to say about him. You need to go back to that video I put out Saturday night on Clyde EdwardsAir. It was in the You Need series, and I went pretty deep on this, and I was pretty serious that I did not trust Andy Reid. I did not really trust the game script, even though I liked the game script, and it really made things befuddling. I like Jerick McKinnon, but I also did not trust Andy Reid and the offense. Jerick McKinnon scored the touchdown, and I had trust issues going into this. Had a lot of questions about Clyde EdwardsAir going into this week, and I pretty much said, hey, I don't know. You're just going to have to make your best choice. And I've said EdwardsAir or McKinnon, I'm just really lying to you because I don't know. There's nothing here to hang your hat on. If you want to believe in Reid, then that's on you, but honestly, I don't trust it. Clyde EdwardsAir has not been good. He hasn't been good throughout the season. He has been productive in fantasy. That's one thing. He can be productive in fantasy. He has shown that over time. He can do that. He can be used in the passing game. He can get over the goal line. He can do that. But in real football, he's not that good. He does not have the pop in the step. He does not give you that upside with any given carry. He just does not have that. Jerick McKinnon has recent production from last year. He's good in the passing game, and he's electric. So that's something to hang your hat on. I look for this backfield to be a head scratcher with Pacheco out. I just look for it to be. I don't trust it. I don't want to trust it. And I think it's going to be like the wide receivers where you're not trusting them too much, even though Rashad Rice has been hitting these last 3 weeks. I think it's going to be a carousel effect. And you know what? They're going to be in game scripts where you're going to have to plug one in. Hopefully you're not in that situation where you have to. But they're going to be in game scripts where you're going to be looking at a running back like Clyde EdwardsAir and you're like, YOLO. YOLO. Because he was a YOLO effect this week. He was, due to that game script. It ran bad. But there's a lot of matchups when you're looking at a lot of other running backs. They also ran bad too. And you know what? That's just part of the game. That's just part of how it works. But those are 10 running backs we're looking at from week 14, projecting out forward. We're looking at the trends. We're going over what happened with them. We're going out forward, out to 2024 as well, just in case you're out of the playoffs. But what you need to do is click that subscribe button. Stop missing out because I'm here to help you out, especially for next year if you're out of it. I'm helping you build those teams, help you with the NFL draft, some rookie scouting as well. I want to thank you for watching. Catch you on the next video.